Hey, what is up? Checking in with you today. We're going to do things a little bit differently. I've got my Bible out. I'm actually going to be reading from the Message version and just talking a little bit today about, in the way of nutrition, how God actually created us in his own image. And he thought that was a pretty good thing. He thought, slam dunk, I've done it. I've created such a great thing. Yet somehow we end up here, where we are today, where we aren't taking care of God's creation. We aren't doing what we need to do in order to protect and to continue to thrive in these bodies that God's created and thought was such an amazing thing. We've kind of drop kicked it down the road and gone to convenience and gone to just whatever is fastest, whatever is quickest, whatever tickles our fancy, as opposed to doing things that are good for ourselves and for those that are around us. So we're going back to the book and we're starting in Genesis. And we are in Genesis chapter 1, starting in verse 26. And I'm reading, like I said, from the Message version. God spoke, "Let us make human beings in our image, make them reflecting our nature, so they can be responsible for the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, the cattle, and yes, the earth itself, and every animal that moves on the face of the earth." God created human beings. He created them God-like, reflecting God's nature. He created them male and female. God blessed them. Prosper, reproduce, fill the earth, take charge. Be responsible for the fish in the sea and the birds in the air, for every living thing that moves on the face of earth. Then God said, "I've given you every sort of seed-bearing plant on earth and every kind of fruit-bearing tree, given them to you for food, and to all the animals and all the birds, everything that moves and breathes. I give whatever grows out of the ground for food." And there it is. God looked over everything he had made. It was so good, so very good. It was evening, it was morning, day 6. And starting in Genesis chapter 2, we start with heaven and earth were finished down to the last detail. By the 7th day, God had finished his work. And on that 7th day, he rested from all his work. God blessed the 7th day. He made it holy because on that day he rested from his work, all the creating God had done. This is the story of how it all started, of heaven and earth when they were created. So God said, "Hey, great idea. I'm going to create you in my own image. I think it's amazing. So amazing. I've given you all these things. I've given you fruits, basically fruits, veggies, the animals. You have it all. You have it at your disposal." And we said, "Great. We're going to create McDonald's. Great. We're going to create Taco Bell. Great. We're going to produce corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, out of this amazing vegetable that you have given us in the purest form. We are going to take it and we are going to make it into something that instead tastes better to us and we get joy out of, not out of corn, but corn syrup. It's so much more flavorful." We have taken the things that God has given us and we have toxified them, basically. The serpent came along and tempted us And we took it hook, line, and sinker. And we're still doing it today. Yes, we live in a fallen world. I totally understand that. As we have evolved, we're not hunting and gathering anymore. You don't have to go and kill your animal in order to have dinner. You don't necessarily have to go to a garden and pick your cucumbers and tomatoes and lettuce to make your own salad. Those things are provided at the store, but we have to make good choices. And God made a good choice by making you. So you have to take that responsibility, just like He said that He is giving us responsibility over all these things. Instead, we're trashing them. We're trashing the sea. We're trashing the air. We're polluting those things. And we're polluting ourselves in the meantime. He said be responsible for the fish in the sea. He said to be responsible for the birds in the air. That we need to be responsible for every living thing that moves on the earth. We are failing. Not just a little bit. We're failing a lot. Absolutely, we're failing. And I don't say that to be rude. I don't say that to be condescending in any way, shape, or form, because I'm failing too. But the knowledge that what we are supposed to be doing, that having that light bulb moment of understanding that what I'm doing is not what I was put on here on this earth to do. I'm not feeding myself the way I'm supposed to. I'm not taking that 7th day and resting. I'm working all the time. I'm just doing whatever I want, whatever feels good in the moment, and not actually looking at and listening to what God said about it. We're not supposed to work every day. We are supposed to rest. If God rested, God took naps. He got in that boat, He went to sleep. I need to take naps. If God rested on the 7th day, now your 7th day might be on Wednesday because that's just how your work schedule is, but you have a day of rest. What you do during that day is a whole nother episode, but we do have to have that time of rest. That's our responsibility just as much as our responsibility for the things that we're doing on all the rest of the 6 days. That includes how we're treating our bodies. God thought enough of you to create you. He knew you before your mom and dad even thought about you. Maybe your parents weren't even thinking about you. They weren't planning on having a child, but God had other plans. And He had good plans. Very good plans. And here you are. But it's not just enough to be here and to be consuming. All consuming. Without taking responsibility for our actions, starting with what we're eating, how we're moving our body. Again, we're not running away from a saber-toothed tiger, but maybe you need to get out and walk. Adam and Eve certainly were walking. They weren't taking bikes. They weren't they weren't taking the train system. Again, we've evolved and things have gotten, in theory, better. But have they really gotten better? Are we really doing the things that we need to do in order to honor the Creator? You're the creation. You should honor your Creator. And you honor Him by your actions each day. So what are you saying? What are you doing? What are you cooking? How are you moving? How are you interacting with other people? How are you sleeping? Are you bathing? I know that sounds super elementary, but are you bathing? You know, just very simple things. Again, no condemnation, but we need to do better. It says we need to do better. God didn't just put us here to consume. We're very good at that. So we have to go back to the Creator, look at the manual, right? I know a lot of times we get things in the mail and we put it together without looking at any of the steps, and then we wonder why it wobbles. You gotta look at the manual. What does the manual say? How are we supposed to put this together? If you want to know about the creation, look to the Creator. That's in everything, even in your nutrition.